What if the nickname Limey wasn't a joke, but a label born from a substance that once saved thousands of lives at sea? Why did an entire nation get named after a fruit? Limes originated in Southeast Asia, likely in regions spanning modern-day Indonesia and Malaysia, where wild citrus varieties grew for thousands of years before spreading westward through trade routes into the Middle East and eventually the Mediterranean by the medieval period. For centuries, limes remained a relatively minor citrus crop, overshadowed by lemons and oranges in most European agricultural and culinary traditions. Everything changed with a medical crisis that had plagued sailors for centuries: scurvy. Starting in the 1500s, European sailors on long ocean voyages began dying in devastating numbers from this mysterious illness, causing bleeding gums, extreme fatigue, and eventual death. Nobody understood the cause, and ships regularly lost significant portions of their crew during extended voyages, with no explanation available to captains or physicians. The breakthrough came in 1747, when Scottish naval surgeon James Lind conducted one of history's first controlled clinical trials aboard a British ship, systematically testing different treatments on sick sailors. Those given citrus fruit recovered dramatically faster than sailors given any other treatment. Lind had scientifically proven citrus prevented scurvy, though the British Navy remained frustratingly slow to officially adopt his findings for decades afterward. It took nearly 50 years, until 1795, for the British Royal Navy to finally mandate regular citrus rations for all sailors. Initially, lemons were the preferred citrus fruit, since they contained higher concentrations of vitamin C. But by the mid-1800s, the Navy switched primarily to limes instead, largely because they were more readily available from British Caribbean colonies than lemons, which came mainly from Mediterranean, often foreign-controlled, regions. This switch to limes came with an unexpected consequence: limes actually contain noticeably less vitamin C than lemons, meaning the switch may have inadvertently made the Navy's anti-scurvy program less effective than it had been previously. Some medical historians argue this reduced potency contributed to isolated scurvy outbreaks that continued occurring even after citrus rations became official policy, decades after the disease was supposedly solved. Regardless of this reduced effectiveness, the switch to limes had already left a permanent linguistic mark. British sailors became widely known among other nations, particularly Americans, by the slang nickname Limey, a term directly referencing their now mandatory lime rations. What began as a practical medical policy had inadvertently created a lasting cultural nickname still occasionally used to refer to British people even today. This massive naval demand transformed lime cultivation into serious commercial business throughout the 1800s, particularly across British Caribbean colonies like Dominica and Montserrat, which became major global lime suppliers specifically to meet growing demand from British ships requiring consistent citrus rations for their crews. Limes eventually found their way into countless culinary traditions far beyond naval medicine, becoming essential ingredients across Mexican, Southeast Asian, Caribbean, and Middle Eastern cuisine. What had started as a practical anti-scurvy measure for sailors gradually transformed into a globally beloved flavor, valued for taste and culinary versatility rather than its original life-saving medical purpose. Modern nutritional science eventually explained precisely why the original citrus solution worked at all. Vitamin C, discovered and chemically identified in 1932, roughly 185 years after James Lind's original clinical trial first demonstrated its effects without anyone understanding the underlying biological mechanism. It took nearly 2 centuries for science to fully catch up with what desperate sailors had already proven through trial, error, and countless preventable deaths. So think about that nickname again, Limey, still occasionally used today. It traces directly back to a naval policy switch that technically made citrus rations less effective, all because limes were simply easier to source from British colonies than lemons ever were. An entire national nickname exists because of a supply chain decision, not because limes were actually the better solution. The next time you squeeze one into a drink, remember, you're holding a fruit that accidentally shaped how the world refers to an entire nation.